Hello, everybody. How's it going? Appreciate you guys for tuning in for Purple and Gold Mines. Actually, meeting of the gold mines. In this episode, we are actually doing it a little bit differently. It's been a minute. We decided to reopen meeting of the gold mines, and yeah, let's have a conversation. But again, I am not here alone. I'm with my with my not playoff, with my PGM brother. Playoff. How's it going, playoff?
Doing all right, man. Excited to get up with you and Rudy and have a conversation.
Yeah, no, I exactly, and we are not alone here. We have a special guest, Rudy Reyes, host of the Rude Dogs Show. Rudy, how's it going, man?
Go good. How
Nice,
you doing?
good, good. I mean, we're both Laker fans, so we're doing as best as we can this season. But hey, it made us reopen an old podcast, so
Yeah, reopening old wounds can be good. Just put away the salt because you know that's going to hurt.
Ex- exactly, and there's a lot of salt around with these teams, so
Especially with the name
um
mosquito. Watch out.
exactly. But yeah, and by the way, before we continue, we just wanted to give a shout out to Sideline Sports Networks. PGM has officially joined. So again, if you do see that S or that logo that has changed, we officially made the announcement that we're joining Sideline Sports Network. So shout out and appreciate you guys because we're not here without the support of you guys, of everybody. So if you want more content, we're also on playback. We're doing the Lake Show Today show, and we are also doing the watch alongs. So if you want to see the group, and in terms of just uh hang out with us, have a discussion, see what's in the future, see other games, hate watch, whatever you want to call it, we are there. So anyway, let's continue. We're doing like a little bit of a preview here. Tomorrow the Lakers face the Clippers. Lakers are 2-0. Let's go to Rudy. What are your thoughts now that we see the injury report? Uh,
I have a little reserve when it comes to where LeBron James is. He has a high ankle sprain. I don't think he's going to play. He's been listed as doubtful if playing whatsoever. And then you have Anthony Davis, who has been sub holding this team up to a certain point where now he's comfortable and has only missed what 2 games. That's
Yeah,
unheard of for Anthony Davis, to be honest with you. But he said at the beginning of the season he wasn't going to miss very many games, and I think too would classify as being under very many. That's very little. Uh, so I'm not necessarily concerned. I don't like the way the Clippers are currently playing right now. And of course, crosstown rivalry certainly does not hurt whatsoever. And this is going to be the last year that the Clippers will share Crypto.com Arena as they're building into it. And that is, from what I've seen, is a very beautiful stadium. Unfortunately, they are going to house the Clippers, but that's another story for another show. Um,
oh no, we're gonna discuss that right now. So
Fair enough. I guess this is the show that. No, to be honest with you, I am not necessarily concerned. More so in the immediate future for the Lakers against the Clippers, being that they're 2-0. I'm more concerned about them falling any further than where they're currently at. Now they've lost the last 8 of their 11 games, and they fall to 10th in the Western Conference, which is not that bad considering where the odds were for them post. I don't want to call a Cup Series, I guess, or whatnot.
the in-season tournament, yeah, the IST, the
It's
IST.
no, I mean that's really of no consequence. There should be given a participation trophy for that instead of giving someone $500,000, 50,000, whatever numerical obscene value associated with that. I just think that the Lakers right now, the odds were great for them to win another title. The problem is that they have fallen badly heading into December. They're 11-9, so it just makes you wonder where and who's going to basically show up for the Lakers if it's not LeBron James. And of course, you look at Reeves, who's been relatively inconsistent. I remember watching that game just the other night where he committed 3 fouls on a 3-point shooter, and I said, you just can't have that. You can't have that. I mean, you don't foul a guy who's great from the line and great from 3, and all of a sudden send him to the line. And not just once, not just twice, but 3 times. If this was baseball, 3 strikes, you're out. And unfortunately for Reeves, it was a short-lived stint on the floor. he had to get benched because that's a benchable offense. Of course, Darvin Ham was certainly quick to call that one. So as it stands right now, I like the Lakers' odds going 3-0 against the Clippers this season. That means they would basically turn the tables on the Clippers by taking back the ownership that was once in the Clippers' favor last season to be now Lakers City, which we all know that was the case anyway, right? Right.
Right, right. Playoff. What's your odds? What do you think of the next game? Just curious.
You know,
Um,
go
oh,
ahead. I'm sorry.
it
I didn't know.
it's on. It really sucks that Braun is probably not going to be playing. I mean, the Lakers have reached a point in the season where we're already behind the eight ball. So we're not like we're trying to play catch up. And I mean, if you're the Lakers, I think best case scenario, you try to climb out of being in the play-in, uh, the the play-in tournament, and you get to that sixth seed, which you're gonna have to win a bunch of games to get there. So I'm not sure if you can afford to have like scheduled losses. And I feel like LeBron not playing tomorrow night makes it a scheduled loss for the most part, unless AD normally plays pretty well when LeBron doesn't play. But he's going to need the others to step up as well. So you're going to need great games from D'Lo. You're going to need a great game from Austin. You're going to need, Rui to step up. And the issue with this team, if you could describe it in one word, this season so far has been inconsistency. And so you don't really know night to night who's going to step up. And it really makes me wonder because, you know, LeBron has been on the injury report pretty much all season, with that ankle injury. And we could, you know, Portland's one of the worst teams in the NBA. We can beat Portland without LeBron James. Well, you would think anyway. Like and so not only did LeBron play, but LeBron played into the fourth quarter with a 20-point lead last night, which really didn't make sense to me. And so for him to play that amount of minutes and get that much wear and tear and then sit out the more competitive game where we need him, I just don't understand the rhyme or reason behind it. So it's gonna be tough. I mean, we're already up 2-0 on the series with them so far this season. So, we can afford a loss if we're thinking about, future playoff implications and the head to head, you know, uh, um, head to head in the standings or a tiebreaker situation. But we got a long way to go before we catch up to them. So it's like, but it definitely feels like tomorrow is probably going to be a loss, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate truth. uh, yeah. Well, let's see. I'm more on the belief that the Lakers may have an opportunity to surprise. Like
Okay.
I feel like the easy way out would be that it's a schedule loss. I'm under the belief that maybe they do have something in the bag. They do play with more urgency when LeBron's not there, so
That's
that's a
true.
positive.
Yeah.
And especially since the first quarters are the Lakers' Achilles heel this season, so let's see what that provides. But moving on, um, just wanted to say, being to the Clip, so let's move a bit to the Clipper side. Um, Everything has broken right for them ever since they went on that losing streak in the beginning when they got Harden. Um, Rudy, what's your thoughts on them? Like, what's looking into like we're midway through the season. What do you think the Clippers are, and are they the legit like contenders at this point?
Well, I mean, they are ranked fourth for a reason, and I don't know that James Harden really contributes a whole lot. And Clippers at 27-14, they're not really a scary team. You have to go through the entire regular season, and you can have that conversation after you get into postseason play, right? Because that play-in tournament is a very key component, and that's what separates the men from the boys who need help from the men to use the restroom. And unfortunately, the Clippers are still that team until they get deep in a postseason run. uh, they're not. I don't know. They don't really scare me. It's not like they put the fear in me whatsoever. If there's a team that put any type of fear in the Western Conference, it'd be the Oklahoma City Thunder, because we know they've built up to this for many, many years, and it wasn't since they had Russell Westbrook. They had they had talent. They had the trifecta going on there. And we all know that they lost all those guys to free agency, because we know Oklahoma City is really not much of anything in regards to, oh, I want to go fly there, into that game. It's like going to Sacramento and you have a bunch of stars there. It's turning like a mini Hollywood. Oklahoma City does not have that type of draw. But from a team draw at 29-13, they scare me. Clippers right now, not so much. I mean, they are 20-11 in the conference overall, but there's still so much basketball to be played. I mean, you question the injury statuses of everyone, and I don't know that Tyronn Lue has these guys firing on all cylinders right now. I mean, yeah, they're four in the conference, but this is a sprint, not a race. And unless you are, the bottom feeders, whether you're the Pelicans or whether you're the Mavericks, you're right on their heels. You're only 2 games out if you're the Pelicans, only and 3 games out if you're the Mavericks. So it's not as if this is a runaway contest for the Clippers. Clearly, if they win tomorrow against the Lakers, then okay, maybe that says something. But the Lakers have been spotty at best. 3-point percentage just not have been there for the Lakers. Very inconsistent. D'Angelo Russell, very inconsistent. And I'm not ready to throw him out to the trade wolves yet. But to be honest with you, who would you rather have, DeJounte Murray or D'Angelo Russell? I think right now, based on the chemistry and the consistency, you stay with D'Angelo. If you want new, fresh blood from a guy who's 27 years old, who never really was tied to San Antonio Spurs to begin with because he was traded, then you got to be in fear of guys who are hot and guys that are not. And right now, DeJounte Murray is being spoken about in some circles as the Lakers maybe not taking him. I guess it depends on the overall package and how many teams can they get involved to have that conversation. That's going to increase your 3-point shooting percentage immensely. DeJounte's just been absolutely outstanding. Last game is Cavaliers. He had 35 points, 35 minutes, 24 points, 10 for 19 from the field. I mean, it's not as if he's a chump. This guy's a baller. I mean, he closed out the other night with Atlanta on the game-winning dagger 3. I mean, he is young, he's fresh, and D'Angelo Russell, well, is not. So, I mean, he just said that I take nothing away from D'Angelo Russell and what he did last night, but again, because he's so inconsistent, his play's been inconsistent, how do you know he's going to do anything for the remainder of the season? Yeah, his average is 16.3 points. He's 67th in the league overall. 2.7 rebounds. He's like 150 plus. Almost 6.2 assists. He's 19th. So these numbers don't exactly pop off the page. I think DeJounte Murray would be a great trade if they can find other teams to pull this off. And don't forget, D'Angelo Russell decided to scrub his social accounts and not have anything to do with the Lakers. Just saying.
Valid point. Valid point. And I think today was reported that from Shams Charania that the Lakers and the Hawks were looking, or Lakers, I don't know which one, but they were looking for a third team to get involved.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see what that third team is to kind of reroute D'Lo. Some of the thoughts would be the Knicks. Some of the thoughts would be maybe Orlando, maybe the Raptors. Who knows? Because honestly, that's the $1 million question. Like, if this is a possibility of a trade, then how are you going to structure it in terms of framework? Um, yeah, it's an interesting scenario. So you are on the Murray wagon playoff. Do you agree with that?
um, there's a lot of nuance to the conversation. Um, I think the majority of the Laker fan base, like D'Lo's never going to be forgiven for his sins last year in the Western Conference Finals. Like that's just like ever since that point, and he decided to resign. Really the conversations around him has not been, oh, like what does D'Lo bring to this team? It's more so D'Lo is a chip in a trade, is an asset that we can use to potentially upgrade this team. And so, um, he's been inconsistent this year. Just like Rudy said, he started off the season really well. He was between him and Austin, he was the better guard. I would even say now he's playing better than Austin is. But for that stretch in December, it was rough. It was rough. And then not only was it rough, but he made the comment about, defense not really being something that he does. Which that the fan base didn't really take kindly to that statement either. And so, um,
Kobe Bryant's rolling in his grave right about now. Someone said, "Defense,
isn't
what's
something better.
defense?"
Yeah, man. So he's in a tough spot, and I think the biggest part of the reason why he will get moved is because the opt in for next season, or he could opt out potentially this summer. Now, if he actually were to be a Laker after the trade deadline, I think I don't see him getting more than $18 million on the open market. I think the most he would get probably is the MLE, and so, but you really have to ask yourself after you know being named the starting point guard in the offseason and then being taken out of the starting lineup, put on the bench. Coach Ham only playing him 16 minutes, 17 minutes some nights after he got back from the injury. Does he really want to come back and be a Laker after everything that's kind of happened? And so, he even liked a tweet recently where he was saying that if they decide to trade him, they're just going to be looking for another person that does what he does. Averaging 16, averaging 6 assists. So I can after last night, and the it definitely looked like he was emotional sitting there on the bench, and it looked like he was taking he was taking it all in. Playing for the Lakers, which it's a second stint with the Lakers, um, and it's his. I think he knows that his journey with the Lakers is coming to an end, and so um, I Dejounte Murray in a on paper obviously is a better player than D'Lo. I think most fans would probably agree with that. But they do different things. Like D'Lo he can score in bunches. He's probably the second best playmaker on this team other than LeBron. Um, his energy is infectious. When he starts hitting pull up threes, the game really changes for the Lakers, and the ceiling for the Lakers changes as well. The issue is with LeBron being 39 years old, you need competent two-way players around him, and D'Lo is not one of those. So self-described, he's not one of those. So, Dejounte, in addition to being more athletic, his defense isn't what it was when he was in San Antonio, but he's still a much better defender than D'Lo. And so they bring different things. It does seem inevitable that a trade gets made. I think the issue is that Atlanta doesn't want to take D'Lo back, so they want to reroute him to another team. So that's really going to be the key, is whether they're able to do that or not.
Yeah, that's gonna be the key. They want flexibility. They want an expiring contract. I did mention the Knicks because they do have Evan Fournier. He's sort of an expiring. He has a team option, so it's like there is a maneuver here that could work. But let's see what happens. Again, the recording of this is January 22nd, so we're probably 2 3 weeks away, probably
Yeah,
less than that. So
We're
it's yeah, so it's getting close. And the Lakers have a tough decision to make. Like the Lakers compared to the Clippers are effectually like they are whole. Like they may just have Zubac's injury. They only have certain players that they may actually upgrade it, but they're tinkering the bench at this point. The Lakers, we are they're tinkering guys 3 through 7 probably,
yeah,
like or 3 through 8. Like that's again, it's not that they haven't had it, but the Lakers are hard capped. The Lakers are not in a position that they have assets available. They only have one first round pick. So to a point, The Lakers are in the position of, I wouldn't say weakness, but I will say that it's gonna be like a little obstacle course that they have to maneuver and trying to do a lot with little if they want to be competitive.
Yeah,
Another yeah, and another thing that I will say that people are I floated it around on Twitter, I floated it around on X, and people didn't like it. They thought I was trolling, which again maybe so, but it's a reality. Lakers may just punt this trade season, this trade deadline, because effectively you have 3 first round picks on draft time. Regardless of what happens, the Pelicans have 2024, they have 2025. You can effectively trade 3 first round picks on draft time. And people will say, what about D'Lo? He can, you risk the possibilities of him just walking away. Well, D'Lo could actually stay because at that
Mm.
point in time, you still have him on the books. So you can still trade him at that point, at that juncture. Now, is that something that the Lakers are probably going to do? I hope not, but it's still an option there that's people are just ignoring left and right. And honestly, D'Lo playing to the level that he is, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers front office just see that and they're like, you know what, man? Like maybe Murray's not that much of an upgrade to just dump all these assets. If it costs an Austin Reeves, if it costs this and that, like I don't know.
well, I'm going to use another NFL term here. You want to talk about punting the season?
Go
You're going to
ahead.
have to go all in. I mean, if you want to win, you got to go all in. You got to take your chips and put them all in. You got to put the keys to the Lamborghini. You got to sacrifice Palinka's house. You have to get something done. If you want to win a championship this year, you had to put all your chips in because they could make it or break it. And unless D'Lo all out of nowhere becomes this massive shooting, scoring machine that, despite his defensive woes or lack thereof, and decides to become this big monster in the NBA post All Star break, I say, look, toss him to the wind, get DeJounte, sacrifice that first round pick, and then look at your bench. Look at your bench. Maybe that'll send a clear message to them and say, you know what? You guys need to step up or you're going to end up like him. Don't be like him. Don't end up like him. And unless you're going to play, you're going to end up like him. And with him, meaning D'Angelo Russell. I'm not suggesting that the Lakers need to make this change. I don't think they necessarily need to, but do they have to? I think something can be said for that. And furthermore, that discussion needs to be rehashed and rediscussed and opened. Talk about opening wounds from the onset of the show. Open it up, make it lively, make it sound good, make it work to your advantage. To be honest with you, if Russell's looking for another team, Lakers could always give them their first round pick for the following NBA draft. Why not? If that's going to get DeJounte Murray in there, that's going to give you, as you stated, playoff, a little bit more nuancial play, better defense, better team coordination, a higher level of athleticism. He's a better maybe teammate in the locker room. We all know that the late great Kobe Bryant was someone who sat at the table by himself because he was better than everyone else, and everybody knew that, and obviously he knew that as well. I'm not suggesting that D'Lo's going to take that kind of road, nor DeJounte Murray. If there's anyone's going to sit at that table, it's going to be LeBron James. And then you have another armful of other guys that are in the Hall of Fame, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, the list goes on and on. So they're going to want to share that table along with the greats of Kobe Bryant. So, at the end of the day, if you want to get in an average of 21.1 points, 5 assists, almost 5 rebounds in 42 games this season, even though he's locked in till 26 and 27 season, you give him a first round pick, make some other moves, cut off some heads, and get the ball rolling with DeJounte Murray in purple and gold.
Damn, that was a. I, there's there's nothing wrong to say that. Yeah, that is if they do want to win a championship, they do have to make a move.
For
I'm
sure.
with you on that. And effectively, if they don't, I think that's a clear message to kind of like the fan base and to everybody that this is not their season. This is not their time. And it's a shame because You basically have Anthony Davis performing at an all time level. You got LeBron James still at a peak where it defined the odds, defining father time. So I'm actually surprised. So it's gonna be interesting. Man, what other team other than OKC do you fear like in the West? Because you got the Clippers, you got OKC. What's does Denver equate there, or did they take a step back?
Well, you know what? There was something going around Twitter talking about how um, you take your highest, best, most valued MVP in Nikola Jokic, and you just basically sit him out for the second half of the game. And are you going to win with that guy out of your lineup? Probably not. And that's what actually ended up happening. They lost that game about 2 weeks ago or so. The Nuggets are always in the conversation, being the current NBA champions, because they're still playing very, very well. They're playing well at home. They're playing well on the road. Away, they're 13-10. At home, they're 17-4. So I mean, they always scare me whenever you play Denver, and I lived in Denver, so I know how rabid that fan base is for the Nuggets. And of course, people make fun of calling them the chicken nuggets, but you can't call them that anymore because they want a chip off the chicken. They didn't even choke on a chicken bone, so they got it. So now they're the defending champs. So now the chip is on their shoulder. Speaking of chips, they took that chip and they're going to run with it. Pelicans, they're a little bit of a scary team. They still fall in the middle of the pack to me from a position of can they get it done? Can they follow through? They've fallen short many times in the regular season. They did that against the Lakers a couple of years back, and then you have the Mavericks and Luka Doncic and how those guys are playing right now. Um, there really isn't a whole lot of teams that are separating themselves. I thought Sacramento in the Western Conference would be the talk or toast of the town right now in the Western Conference, but they're not. They're 23-18 now. Now again, and I'll reiterate this for the listeners: this is a sprint, not a race. Let's keep that in mind. So right now, these scores, these teams, their records are basically just air-filled balloons. Until one of them breaks, one of them busts, you're not going to know who's going to show up and who doesn't when it's all said and done. Um, but there isn't really anybody who stands out to me right now. I know the Warriors are trying to get back to where they were. I know they had some issues with a aforementioned player. I won't name his name. Likes to hit people across the chin and throat. Um, and they're trying to find their way back. And Draymond Green really has been kind of available, but not really available. And I know, and God rest their assistant coach's soul, who passed away just a few days ago. So my condolences to him and his family. Warriors didn't play; they postponed that game. I don't know if it was postponed or canceled. You can cancel a game in the NBA. I think it just gets rescheduled and
It gets
reshuffled.
rescheduled. Yeah, it's
Correct.
rescheduled at this point. Yeah.
Right. So, again, I don't know of anybody that really scares me right now. But you know who's a big surprise to me? And they were so close last year. They just had Karl Anthony Towns just lighting up the court, and that's the Timberwolves. I don't know. No one's really talking about them. They're in Minnesota. Minnesota, home of the Vikings? No, home of the Timberwolves. The Vikings know how to choke worse than the Timberwolves do. At least you know there's going to be a dog that doesn't choke on a bone versus a Viking that does. The Timberwolves are 30-12. They're playing on all cylinders right now. They are leading the Western Conference. They have a killer record at home. They know how to play on the road. Cat or Karl Anthony Towns just is a team player. He's a dynamo. He's a guy that you look forward to playing with every single night. And at 30-12, if there's any team that scares me, it's going to be them. But again, we haven't even reached the end the end of All-Star break, to where all these teams get back to normal positioning and what they actually will end up looking like. As only a few teams, actually 2 teams, are headed into the All-Star break soon at 500. So going back to the Lakers, they can ill afford to lose any more games. I mean, any more games from post All-Star moving forward. Do I see them running the table on anyone? No, not really. They're going to be in the middle of the pack, and they're going to have a tougher road on the play-in tournament than other teams, than the Mavericks and the Pelicans, and maybe even the Clippers. But again, this is a sprint, not a race. So we'll see who ends up, being there at the very end, holding the trophy, and who isn't.
Mm, truth. So question for the panel. And let me go to playoff here. Just before we go to the main subject at hand, I just wanted to ask, like, as is, are we even making the playoffs, or is this just a play in and hope for the best kind of like what's the ceiling of this? Because looking at the West, I never thought the Kings were this low. I never thought there's some parity, but at the same time there's some detachment. I think Rudy said it best. Like they're kind of there's some separation. So it's like where do you have the Lakers landing? Even if they make a trade, like at the end of the day, like what's what's the top of this?
Well, and we kind of touched on this in the playback, but I don't really think there's any trade out there realistically that makes the Lakers a championship contender as far as the season goes. Um, you know, everyone coming into the season largely thought that this team was going to be a top three, top four seed at the minimum, and it's just the focus, the defensive intensity, the championship habits just haven't been there this season. And so even if you make a trade for DeJounte Murray, even if you do make a trade for Bruce Brown, I think at its highest, maybe like let's say they make that trade and the team just flips the switch and just really goes on a run. I think maybe they can get to the fourth, fifth, or sixth seed. But I think realistically, I mean, we're talking about a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, two of the best players in the sport, lost to who was it that they lost to the other night? The inexcusable, the Nets, one of the worst teams in the NBA, an inexplicable loss. Like you could tell the team was feeling themselves. LeBron was flexing and doing all the theatrics. And as soon as the Nets made the game close going into halftime, I knew it was going to be a dogfight. And then not only did it not not only was it a dogfight, but the Lakers actually ended up getting blown out. So just inexcusable losses that shouldn't have happened. So I think looking at it realistically, even if a trade is made, I think they're a play-in team. And then the thing about this team, and we've been saying it here recently quite a bit. The dangerous thing about this team, they can beat anyone, but they can also lose to anyone. And the first sign of adversity in a game, we've seen it time and time again. They fold. They fold every time. So they just don't have that grit to them. And it's like if unless a team if a team lays down, after they like come out to a hot start, they're completely fine. But once a team gets back into the game and kind of pushes back on them a bit, things quickly get out of hand. So that's been one of the really unfortunate things about watching this team this year.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I have to chime in there because I watched that game from beginning to end, and in the first half, it was joyous. It was fun to watch. They were having fun out there. They were sharing. They were carrying. They were dunking. They were posting people up. A couple people were poster childs in the back of milk cartons. I mean, the Lakers were lighting it up. Okay, they just were. And then come the second half, it was like LeBron James looking around saying, "Whoa, no penalty," and then he gets teed up because there was too much. And at
Yeah.
that point, the Nets were too much. They were playing way better. They had so much momentum on their side. He has guys smiling. It was a polar opposite of what this Lakers team was in the first half. And sadly, it's sad but true that the Lakers lost because they did it to themselves. It was self-inflicted loss. Period. They didn't get back in transition. Their three-point shooting was at best. Field goal. Then you had those fouls by Reeves. I mean, there were just so many problems with the body language, looking for penalties, looking for fouls, looking for things, and ghosts really weren't there. I mean, it's like you're having a blindfold on and you're watching Birdcage, and all of a sudden you're in a blindfold and you're like, okay, where does that come from? Well, of course you're not going to see anything because you have a blindfold on, you dodo. Okay, the bottom line is that you're right. Bruce Brown would make a great addition. I just don't think it's going to happen. And to be honest with you, if the Lakers did not make a trade playoff, would not surprise me whatsoever. And to your point, Tony, uh, they could actually punt this and send it to the 1 yard line until next year.
100%.
100%, 100%. And yeah, with all the Laker talk, we and by the way, just so people can understand some references, we are based on the East Coast, like at least me, playoff. Not Rudy. He's there in in the middle of it, but also, uh, I just saw my good friend here, and also Clipper fan, time dropper. Thank you for joining, man. We've been talking a bit of everything, talking about Lakers. There's a main subject that we're going to talk about, which is kind of like the Lakers and Clippers of LA, kind of like the battle of LA. But wanted to give you just give you the floor in terms of introducing yourself, and thank you for coming, man.
Tony Vegas, dude, where's Born Rebel at? This is the first time I've ever been on your platform, and there's no Born Rebel.
Well, hey, I took the keys out of him. Like I told him, hey, bro, this is gonna be me. We're gonna put some civilist, some rules, some parameters, and let's talk some real substance here. I'm joking, but we're multitasking because we're also on playback. We're dividing and conquering, so we're doing two things or three things at once. So
I can see what you're saying. But
yeah.
appreciate you for having me on. Yeah, I'm born and raised in LA. Been a Clipper fan since the 05-06 season when I first started watching basketball. Um, I grew up with my uncles, both huge Laker fans, especially my younger one. He's only 30, no, he's 40 now, but he had season tickets with my other uncle in the 96 and 97 seasons at the Forum. And he made sure that I never was a Laker hater. So, I grew up watching Kobe every night on FSN West or KCAL 9. And that was amazing. I didn't root for the Lakers necessarily, unless they were in the finals. Always going to root for LA over another team. To be honest, back then Laker fans annoyed me, but wasn't so serious. The LeBron Lakers, I used to be a huge LeBron fan actually, but I don't like the mixture of the LeBron fans and the Laker fans. It's very toxic, and I hope they lose every game now. To be honest,
Wow.
after LeBron, the last straw was for me when LeBron wanted to recruit Kawhi after he had already gotten AD. I had already grilled KD for his move. I said, you know what, Kobe, he wanted one. Kobe, you know how Kobe was. He wanted one star and he'd ride with the rest. He needed that one guy. Besides having that one guy, you never saw him put up a huge fuss for a third star or anything like that. KD went and joined that team, and everybody says, oh, we gotta. He stacked the deck. That's the easy way out. Man, if LeBron had Kawhi and Anthony Davis, like, could you imagine that defense? Like, it would have been a new Warriors. So he was willing to stoop that low, and I was like, come on, man, I just can't buy it. So, yeah, sorry about that long-winded intro. I do Laker and Clipper content though every night on my YouTube channel. After every Laker game that I can go live after, I go, and then Clipper games. I have season tickets this year for the first time. I'll do a video for every game I go to, and then live at the games I don't go to. And then I am the host of Locked On Clippers and the Locked On Network. And I do basketball history content, which is actually my favorite thing I do because it's way less toxic. But appreciate you guys for having me.
You're opening up cans. Unfounded cans of worms, Mr. Dropping in at the last minute. No, it's all good, man. I've never been a Clipper hater, but with that being said, they've always ended up being number two. And to me, they'll always be number two to LA. Always, 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 always. And the reason for that is, well, all the championship banners the Lakers have and the Clippers will none. But that's another story for another show. When it comes to, I gotta pick it apart piece by piece. You're dropping so much untruth, but I'm just gonna call it like it is. The fact alone that LeBron James has brought his own fan base, no, fan bases travel well, just like in the NFL. They all travel well, and because they're already there. They're already there. LeBron James fans were already here. They just waited for LeBron James to sign that contract. Of course, it was a mega deal contract. after winning championships everywhere else he's been, and decides to bring that swagger to LA. So until the Clippers actually win one and get in postseason conversation and going all the way with Tyronn Lue as their head coach, man, it's always Laker Town first and foremost. But the Clippers are there in the mix. They're in the mix. They're the top in the top 5 in the NBA right now. I take nothing away from their gameplay. I take nothing away from what they have done up to this point. But as I was telling Playoff and Tony, that at the end of the day, this is a sprint and not a race. And whoever's holding that trophy when it's all said and done, that's going to prove all that sweat, blood, and tears that's been brought along the court between the play-in tournament and the end of the season. And whoever brings it is going to bring it.
Yeah.
I do have a question for Don Draper.
Okay.
You just mentioned hating the LeBron-led Lakers based off of his attempt to get Kawhi over there, or bring him to the team. How do you feel about the Clippers currently? And I think I had seen at one point, not that you were slandering James Harden, but just you weren't really a fan of
I was slandering him really hard.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, it seemed like you weren't really a fan of him actually coming to the team, and now that he's on the team and the team is playing some of their best basketball, how are you conflicted about that as a Clippers fan? Like how do you feel about it?
I can't lie to you, man. This has been the hardest experience for me as a fan in all my fandom, because I say this: I'm more of a basketball fan than I am a Clipper fan, and I want people to realize what that means. I love the game of basketball so much. I could be entertained watching any age level above like the age of 8 play basketball. I'm entertained at the park or something. Like, it's amazing. So what I like in basketball is ball movement, people that don't pound the rock too much. And I think James Harden, for me, resembled everything I don't like about today's game. A lot of guys that dribble a lot and don't do a lot with it. They try to bait for fouls. They don't move without the ball. They want the ball in their hands, and they're amazing with the ball in their hands. And they like creating everything for everybody because they're so good at it. But you look at okay. By the way, what Rudy said about the Lakers being number 1, I don't think in my lifetime the Clippers will ever be number 1, and I'm okay with it. I'm fine being number 2. I just think that people sleep on how many fans the Clippers actually have. Like, our attendance is really good when we have any star. Like, we're not one of those franchises that's going to sell out when we're bad, like the Lakers or the Knicks or the Celtics. But we're like any other team that has, when their team is good, they'll be full house. And if they're not, we'll still have decent attendance. But I think Clippers are really one of the very strong fan base in LA compared to the football teams. And I'm a fan of one of them. We're really building, because the Rams, yeah, they might be LA's original team, but like, it's mostly the people that I know that are Rams fans. A lot of them were living in Anaheim back in the day, and because those late years they played there. And it's been 21 years that we haven't had an NFL team. So when you go to their games, and I worked for the Rams last year, and they're supposed to be the A team, dude, the Niners and the Cowboys, like, there was a lot of games where we did not have the majority. Clipper games is like 3 or 4 teams that actually will be able to challenge us with that. So we're building. But yeah, to answer your question, playoff mode, it's been very weird. I really he was probably my least favorite star. And it's not personal. I just don't like the way he plays ball. Like, sure. I think that he was on Houston, he was just unbearable. And then I don't like Mike D'Antoni's give the ball to one guy and run pick and rolls all the time offense. Like, listen, I think in LA we can agree that we don't like Mike D'Antoni. The guy tried to, that he was a terrible hire in the first place for the Lakers, playing Pau Gasol and Dwight Howard with him as the coach that loves 4 out, 1 in, or 5 out offense. Like, it was just so weird. But I don't like his all offense style, so I really didn't like James Harden. But I will say this: he's playing great. My biggest fear with getting James Harden, though, was that he does what he does in the regular season. He's great. He always makes the team that he goes to better. That's one thing that's undeniable about James. He went to Houston, he made him better. He went to Brooklyn, he made him better. Same with Philly. Clippers, same thing. We're gonna do better than winning 1 game in the first round this year. Like, even if someone goes down, we're gonna do better than that. But are we gonna have the biggest letdown of all, the biggest choke with the super team? Because it's a super team. It's the first time the Clippers have ever had something like this.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's a Hollywood disaster waiting to happen. So I'm not letting myself get excited. And no, I don't particularly my opinion of James Harden about his basketball game does not change that much. But I will say there's a difference between being objective about what he's doing and me liking him in his game. He's
Yeah.
playing awesome. He's doing everything he needs to do. I don't gotta like the way he plays. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not my style. Like, I love the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordan, Steph Curry. Like, I love guys like that. James Harden's a little different. He's great in his own way. But I love Russell Westbrook, by the way.
Okay.
I am not a fan of Russell Westbrook. I have to say something about James Harden. I interviewed James Harden at the NBA Awards just a few years ago. And one of the questions that I asked him was, does this Houston Rockets team need anything additional to get into a finals conversation? You can only imagine what he said. He said, no. Which inside of me, I laughed till the cows came home because we know it's a statement of fact that D'Antoni led coached Houston Rockets team were always in need of pieces. Always. The only reason why he said what he said and how he said it and why he said it was because he wants to be numero uno. And we've seen that happen with James Harden his entire career. He'll also this team doesn't need anything because it's been all about him. Even during his days at OKC, it was always about him. So no matter where he's played, it's always been about him. Oh, I don't want to play anymore, so I'm injured all of a sudden. Wait, what? You're injured? How did you get injured? Well, I was doing this, that, and the other. So he'll cop out an entire season. Worse than who Ben Simmons is at this point. And by the way, the connection that I'm making here between D'Angelo Russell and Ben Simmons is not that they have the same mentality as they both went to the same high school, but that's another story. James Harden's not a guy that I appreciate watching. I do like some of his game, but for the most part, he's a disaster waiting to happen all by himself.
So a lot of what you're saying, that I shared a lot of those sentiments, and just I don't like that I questioned his effort in like elimination games. Like, to me, the playoffs and the big stage, like at the very least, you just got to give me everything you have. For me as a fan, Russell Westbrook, he might make terrible decisions, but for the teams he's played for in the playoffs, he never had a playoff game with Lakers, but he worked you can never question his effort. James Harden, I've had to question his effort, and that scares me in the playoffs, but I'm hoping that he's in the third option role. And that was the role that he was kind of in Brooklyn, and he never really got to finish that story. So with a guy like Kawhi and a good organization now that is nothing like they used to be with Ballmer at the top, then maybe he can finally get over his demons.
Maybe so, and Ballmer can finally get a toupee. I'm just saying. I mean, there's a lot of things that I do like about this Clippers team, and it's the way they're playing, the unity in which they are playing in, and the fact alone that they have their new stadium going to be nice and shiny, just like SoFi was for the amount of time that they had, and dive droppers just can't believe what I'm saying right now with the mouth open.
Yeah, there's some lag. It seems.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all good. Love you, bro. No, so I mean, when it's all said and done, the Clippers just need to show up when they need to, and that is on a consistent basis, night in, night out. That's the only way they're going to get that monkey or proverbial monkey off of their back. Truly.
Yeah.
Okay, there he is.
You're back time. All right. Cool.
Dime, I do have another question for you. How has it felt watching the Lakers season and just the underachieving that they've been doing so far? And what's your why is the season going the way it has, in your opinion?
This is the basketball side, not the
Yeah.
Clippers side, please.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. But it's been I didn't think the Lakers were a championship team coming into this season, but I had them top. I said they could be anywhere between two. I was leaning more 3 to 6.
Okay.
Just because I don't think LeBron is going to go super hard in the regular season, and there's going to be. I thought AD and LeBron would have missed more games than this. I'm not going to lie, but they're still going to miss. Like tomorrow, they're still going to miss games. Like they're still going to be missed games. They're going to be cautious with them. So I don't think the Lakers are going to be a big team that cares a lot about seeding, especially considering what they did last year. But I'm a big believer that you got to be a top 3 seed to win a ring. There's only been 2 teams without the top 3 seeds that have won a ring: 69 Celtics and 95 Rockets. And if you got to develop those good habits in the regular season, and I think health is part of that. And I think this season, the Austin Reeves D'Lo thing, I think Darvin Ham may have pulled the trigger a little too quickly with changing up on that.
Sure.
I think Jared Vanderbilt also being out in the beginning of the season hurt a little bit. And Dennis Schroeder being gone and no Gabe Vincent at all. I mean, I think Dennis Schroeder, because of his occasional bonehead decisions at the end of games, really didn't get enough credit for how good he was defensively second half of the season last year. The way he guarded Steph in the second round was amazing. Like, he did such a great job point of attack. So, and he's a hardworking player. I think he kind of redeemed himself for that disappointing first Lakers stint last year as far as the playoffs go. And I think they missed that. So I think like the fact that you're relying on Cam Reddish to like guard the other team's best player, like with all due respect to Cam, he's having the best season of his career, but I think he's like a bench player on a championship caliber team. If that's where you want to go, I don't think you can just go from like being out of rotation on bad teams to being a starter on a team with LeBron and AD and like being these are the complementary pieces for them to win a ring. Like KCP has won now 2 championships in the last 4 years. What's the gap between KCP and Cam Reddish and any role player the Lakers have is so wide. Like they don't really have quality role guys. And D'Lo and Austin Reeves, they're the clear third and fourth best players on this team. And the fact that they minimize D'Lo so much, that taking him out, taking Reeves out of the starting lineup, I don't think that was that bad because I think Austin Reeves actually has a lot of 6-man characteristics. Like he'll come in, you control your offense. Like, you know, kind of like how Jamal Crawford was for us. Like, just come in and give you buckets and play make a bit. But D'Lo and Reeves going to the bench was very redundant. I think it made it so that LeBron was like you really are relying on LeBron and AD to create every single shot for you in that starting lineup. And AD's, by the way, been excellent. Like the fact that the Lakers have a bad record, it's very unfortunate for Anthony Davis because he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He's the best defender in the NBA to me. Like for sure. For me, he's the best defender in the NBA. But and LeBron's been great too, of course.
They don't have a bad record; they just have a subpar record. And this season is barely at 50%. So there's no way to make that determination to say, well, they have a bad record. No, they have probably a mediocre, not even a 500 season right now. If the season ended today, they would not be in the play-in.
Yeah, which is obviously atrocious for the standard of the standard. Like 100%. So, that's what I would say.
It's a house that Kobe built. So of course you're going to be held to a different type of standard, held to a different type of a playmaking capability when you're on the floor. But to your point, you're absolutely right. I think when you bench D'Angelo and Reeves at the same time, you're taking the win out of the sails. And as I stated from the onset of the show, when you take AD out or when he takes himself out and only being injured for 2 games, and now maybe a third, he hasn't been declared out officially. LeBron has. Anthony Davis is like the puzzle piece that's keeping this all together right now, because while he's on the floor, he's doing so much with LeBron James in connection. I mean, he has almost 25 points per game. He's just playing almost 11 rebounds, 2.5 assists. I mean, he's playing the way he should have been playing while he was with the Pelicans, if you really want to have that conversation. But he's bringing it, and he has brought it. And without him and LeBron James in association with that, you really have nothing.
I think the best version of the team comes with D'Lo being used more, not less. Because D'Lo, you have to take the good and the bad with him. He had, let's be honest though, he's pretty inconsistent, right? But in those first 2 rounds, he did enough. Like he was good, but he just stunk it up against Denver. That was his first time playing in the conference finals in that level. And that level, like people really have to understand. That's why when people say rings, don't matter and this and that, or it's not important. Nah, to me, it is important because that's the highest level of ball. If you're on the court playing a role, like you have to understand how that's the highest level of basketball in the world. Final 4 round team standing playoff NBA ball. And the players that can be successful in that setting, those are the greats, and Reeves was great in his first playoff run. But the one thing I've noticed about D'Lo, watching him more this season, is that he really is a much, much better passer than Reeves to me. Like he's much better in the pick and roll with AD. I think Austin Reeves really looks to either score or get fouled when he's in the pick and roll. D'Lo is he really is a good passer, and I remember seeing that from his first stint with the Lakers. So I think he's the true guy that should take the pressure away from LeBron having to do all the playmaking and that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
if you're going to rotate in, put Reeves on the bench and let D'Lo ride. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let it be out on the court. Why? Because as you stated earlier, and I completely agree with you, Austin Reeves coming off the bench, he's hot. He's hopping. His sharpness, his vision is there. He knows how to help create plays. He drives the ball to the court, to the iron more often than not. He puts other people in position if he doesn't create a fast break opportunity. That is so. I mean, a lot of things to like from Austin Reeves, but as I explained in the beginning of the show, his fouling of 3-point shooters back to back to back was atrocious. Was absolutely atrocious. I had never seen Austin pull that type of shenanigan time in and time out. And as I said, if this was baseball, 3 strikes are out. He would have been benched on the first one, much less.
What game was this?
It's
It was,
against,
the game against the Nets. It was the game.
Okay. I've watched the last 3 Laker games I've watched. They've won. That was the one game I missed out of these last 4.
Yeah, it was nasty.
It was pretty bad. It was, but
that you did miss it.
yeah,
No, I'm so curious what happened. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
no. It's okay. It's a tale of two halves. One team showed up, the other one didn't. Like, and to a certain point, that AD was cooking in the first half, and basically the second half, they forgot that AD was wearing the jersey.
Oh, again. Well, that's not the first time we've heard that this season.
Not the first time, yeah. And the fact that LeBron James forgot to play basketball for some weird reason and just missed open layups upon open layups. It was pretty bad. It was horrible. But all right, let's shift some gears here. Let's take it to, like, I want to take this moment now that Dime's here. We got Rudy. I really want to dive into this topic. It's the main topic, but it's Clippers versus LA. But in the sense of I am from the outside, so I'm only watching my team. But looking the future of the Lakers, and honestly, the championship, whatever window, whatever you want to call it, it's tilted to the end of it. You know, at some point, we're gonna hit a reset button, or we're gonna hit a retool button, or something. We're not trending in the upwards direction that we were. That being the case, I'm looking at our neighbor, at our rent, you know, the Clippers, and they're building this stadium. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I saw that stadium. I'm like, yo, take out the toilets. Like, Jesus Christ, this is huge. Like, this is nice. That being the case, like, is this ever gonna be a Clipper takeover? Like, knowing the amount of money and revenue that Ballmer's just injecting into this team and into the infrastructure too. Like, I know it's a Laker town, but at some point it's like I'm looking at that and I'm like, yo, that's nice. So I just wanted to get your thoughts about it. Is it like, if you win a chip this season, is it enough to kind of like put a little, like, quote unquote, like, maybe for the foreseeable future, or at some point this may be a Clipper town for maybe a temporary pass. So what do you think, Dime?
No way. I was gonna say, if we won, I used to always say, if we won 10 rings, we could have the conversation. But here's what I will say. Let's say the Lakers don't win a championship for like 30 years. Let's say they win 1 championship in 30 years and the Clippers win 5. I don't think it's a Clipper town, but I think that the kids growing up at that time, like, already what's happening now, like, this is a great example. I was just at the park coaching at one of my park teams, and I went into the practice before, and it was the kids of like ages 9 to 10. And there was a Laker jersey in there, the LeBron jersey, one of the kids was wearing, but there was also a kid wearing a Kawhi jersey. And back when I was a kid, I would be the only one wearing anything Clippers in my grade or whatever. So it's starting to shift in the sense that it's more split, but the Lakers still dominate. But that's just a young generation. The people that witness Kobe, that witness Magic, I mean, it's dominant for the Lakers side, you know? And then you get the worldwide fans. So I think you'd really have to see the Clippers win a good 5 rings. And maybe you'll start to see something like 20 years after that 5th ring of maybe there's 50-50 split now in the LA population. But nah, man, I don't think that. And I'm okay with it. I think the Clippers being second team is part of what made me a fan. I know the tickets were super affordable. and I could go to so many games. I mean, I've seen so many great players play. I've seen such big playoff games. I mean, obviously none past the second round, but still some great ones. So it's been amazing. Like there's obviously cons in being a Clipper fan and being the secondary team, the JV or whatever. Like, you legit, sometimes I don't know if I want to wear Clipper stuff, like just because I know someone's going to make some kind of sly comment and I just have to entertain it for a sec. But
Is there
yeah.
does that happen a lot where you wear
Oh.
Clipper stuff and people say stuff to you?
Yeah, it's not happening as much these days because I'm wearing it with a little bit more pride since we're Ballmer has made our organization serious, So, but and there's more Clipper fans these days for sure. But it's still to the point where if I see somebody wearing something Clippers, I always say something nice to them, and you'll always get looks. You'll always get looks, no doubt. So that stuff is real. Like when I would wear my Clipper stuff in Massachusetts when I went to UMass for college, they're Celtics fans, so they don't even care. They're like, "Oh man, this is interesting. Are you from there? Never seen that wear a Clipper jersey out here." So that was cool. But yeah, that really is a thing. That really is a thing. Like going outside and like wearing a Clippers stuff. I've seen some people. It's funny. Girls will get like in the dating apps and stuff. They'll make, "Oh, you're cute," but for a Clipper fan, all these sly comments.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and it happens, man. It happens. But there's a lot of pros, man. And the pros are how many games like I've really been to. Like it's not even spoiled because the tickets are cheap. And I sat in the 300 section for a lot of those games. So like I know Staples Center super well, and it's going to be very emotional for me leaving. Very emotional. Clipper other fans, no, but this is where I fell in love with NBA basketball. Like this is the stadium that did it for me. And I've always loved that you can go to at least three different pro games. You have the Sparks too, so 4 in that stadium with the Kings, and I'm a Kings fan, so like it matters to me.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned nostalgia with that arena, and I remember when the Final Four was there and Michigan won. I was on the floor for that one. Interviewed the Michigan head coach, at least at the time, and he walked by me. He says, "Oh, you like that, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, coach, I do." That's the first time I'd ever actually put my foot down on courtside underneath that net that they love to cut down during the Final Four ceremony. So that was always fun for me. So a lot of great memories going there as well. Being on the floor, broadcasting from there, just fantastic. I wouldn't trade that for anything.
When was that?
Leave 2018. So when the renters leave, I don't know if it'll be busier or not as busy. And the Clippers will have a brand new stadium they should be very proud about. Steve Ballmer has done absolutely fantastic work with the Clippers organization. You said injected, and I actually agree with that word only because he's put zest and vibrance and people wanting to come watch games and waiting in line and buying tickets online and doing all the things that are necessary to keep the Clippers viable and relative, and their play certainly encapsulate what that means this year. And as we head into an NBA All-Star break a lot sooner than later, it just goes to show that Steve Ballmer is going about this the right way. He had a very methodical plan and has some very trusted advisors around him to help mitigate whatever issues may arise and or moving this organization into the next echelon, and that's in the Intuit Center.
You know what's let me just read something here because this is something that when I read it, I'm like, damn, like that's dope. But because when I thought about the dome, the stadium, I'm like, oh well, you're gonna host a couple of things, hockey, you're gonna host things, but Steve
No
Ballmer
hockey.
said no hockey. It will never. I didn't want hockey there. It's specifically built for basketball. So respect, man. Like respect to Steve Ballmer because I think without him, I think the Clippers would not be in the position that they are. So
Dude, Ballmer,
props.
he's
Yeah.
he literally has like changed my life. Like I can't lie. Like I love the Clippers so much that like he's affected my actual happiness. Like I actually have belief. Not as much in this particular team, honestly. I think I'm one of the most skeptical Clipper fans of anyone that of this particular era of the Clippers, the Kawhi era, just because of health mainly. Not that I don't believe in Kawhi's ability in the playoffs. He's the only one I really do believe in. I also believe in Paul George more than most. because he made history for us. Like that was what he did in 2021, especially after the slander about the bubble. That was amazing. The level he performed at without Kawhi, I was so impressed. But yeah, man, Ballmer, he's really changed everything. It couldn't be more polar opposite. Like we went from scum of the earth, like just didn't want to win and just cared about his pockets, Sterling, to a guy that just wants to win by any means necessary and is very successful in everything he does. And I mean, his energy is insane. Like I almost think it's a skit, but like, or like this, like a bit. But then he was on Podcast P and he was like that for like a straight hour, like going nuts. Like it's wild that man is like in charge of so much, but it's a method to the madness, man. And he's very positive. Like he's just a very perfect guy for the Clippers. So I really don't take that for granted. And that's why I believe that one day we're going to win a championship. It may not be with this team. That was my point. But one day I think we're going to win. And when I was a little kid, I thought I may die without a championship. And Steve Ballmer's going to bring it home one day. Is it going to be this year at Staples Center? That would be nuts if we win a championship at Staples Center. Oh, you guys would hate that. We'd always be able to claim a little bit.
Oh man,
I wouldn't hate it, man. Like that's
you're not a hater like that, Tony.
No, I'm not. But at the same time, like I'm not born and raised from LA, so that's why I kind of take a step back, because like there are people that are born and raised from LA that are Laker fans that do take like pride, and they take it another level that I'm not even comfortable saying. But at the same time, it's like there is a point here that even looking at the two teams, like I feel like our team is built for the playoffs. It's not built for the regular season. Your team is built for the playoffs, and for what I'm seeing, it's built for the regular season as well. And it looks every bit as competitive and every bit as I thought it would be. So I'm just saying, you guys are in a position to make a headway, and maybe a path does open to claim a championship. Like that's the point. Like even if you win this year's championship, even if you win the next decade, and the Lakers just lose and whatnot. Like that's my point. Does it really change? Because there's a shiny new dome. There's a shiny new place, shiny new experience. Like at some point there has to be some gravity there. Like
yeah, I mean there might be some gravity, but I'll tell you a lot of gravity. Magic Johnson and Kobe Bryant. And it's really hard to replicate that. You have to understand, like growing up, you could, because my senior year of high school, I think this is very symbolic. My senior year of high school was Kobe's year that he retired. So like my whole childhood, I was too young for the really prime Kobe Shaq days, but the peak Kobe, 81 points, as we're on the anniversary of that, 81 points, and the back-to-back, the championships that Kobe savors the most. I was present live in school for all of it. And you could not say a bad word about this guy. You couldn't say, "Oh, he does this too much. He shoots too much." Nothing. You're looking for an argument. That's how it was. He had this godlike worship that I've only seen matched by when I went to New England with them and Tom Brady. They were exactly the same way with that. There was this irrational honestly, you could say it may not even be irrational confidence that no matter what the situation, no matter what game they were in, Kobe's going to find a way to get it done. It was insane. And the Laker fans right now, and it's normal that they don't because LeBron's old, but they don't have that same kind of arrogance when they speak about the team. It was insane. I was like, dude, Kobe is this and that. Like, he's going to find a way. They always said these kind of things. So, and I can imagine in the 80s with Kareem and Magic, and that's like the most successful Laker era ever. And with the Forum and there was a movie. Like, so that is just hard, Tony. Like, you got to win. The dome is nice, but the winning. Magic and Kobe are top 10 all-time players.
It's about the winning tradition. It takes time to build a tradition. It's not something you just wake up and all of a sudden realize, oh, you know what? I need to start a tradition. No, it doesn't work that way. It takes time, effort, energy, money. The great late Jerry Buss certainly put his paws right in the middle of all of it. From PR, he was like the Jerry Jones of the NBA, minus getting in the way of himself because he knew what he was doing, unlike Jerry Jones, who continually doesn't. And a chance to meet Jerry Jones, by the way, in the preseason, but that's another show. But there's a lot of things to like about where the Lakers are headed. But it starts with winning. It starts with tradition. It starts with the winning mentality. And that's where Mamba mentality comes into play. And maybe, just maybe, the Clippers will grab onto that. Maybe somebody will grab it. I know Steve Ballmer certainly has these. You know, if there's anything I take away from Kobe Bryant, and that's having the Mamba mentality. It's about winning at whatever cost, at whatever price, at whatever I have to do to help mitigate this team and get them into winning ways and building that tradition. That's what he continues to do. So my hat is off. Of course, I joined the ball club like Steve Ballmer should, but I'm not just I'm also a client. When it's all said and done, I think Steve Ballmer's on the right track. But again, it's built on tradition. And I had so many times to watch Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, James Worthy. How can you take anything away from James Worthy? And so much that he did in the playoff runs that he was a part of. I mean, this team has tradition written all over it. And I think if the Clippers can get to a playoff run and their last season isn't Staples, that says a lot about where they are heading as an organization. And that starts to build tradition because at that point, headed in the offseason, if they do not win it all, what they need to do to get back. And you're never going to get there back to back to back to back to back. This is a different era, different time, different players, different attitudes. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you need to take a piece from the past to help build the future. And I think that's where the Clippers are certainly headed. Lakers are already there. They're just trying to add on too. So you have the tale of two cities, the tale of two stories. The bigger question is can the Clippers rewrite the books and make them the LA team that the Lakers already are?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate this conversation. It helps people kind of understand kind of like where the Clippers are and where the Lakers are. Um, I do want to appreciate. I do appreciate Dime Dropper playoff, Rudy. Rudy, where can people find you, man? Just wanted to give
You
you a
can
shout out and thank you.
Word. I appreciate that. Thanks, Tony. Playoff, and of course, dropping in, Mr. Dime Dropper. Appreciate you laying down the knowledge as well. So thanks for that. You guys can find me on the RudeDogShow.com. You can follow me at Rude Dog Reyes on Twitter. I'd love to talk during any playoff season, football, NBA, Major League Baseball. Of course, I'm the lowly Pirates fan here who is not a Dodgers fan. I grew up watching the Dodgers, but I'm not a Dodgers fan. I'm a Pirates fan. But when you get our oldest Chapman at the age that he is right now, and you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, you should be pretty happy. So with that being said, thanks guys for having me on. I appreciate it. And we'll see everybody on the flip side. Like it, love it, and always share it. I appreciate that. And I know you guys do as well.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
guys.
Thanks,
Well,
guys.
and with that, I will say I appreciate everybody tuning into Dime Dropper. I will leave the links below. On to the next one. Let's see what happens tomorrow versus the Lakers Clippers. But appreciate you guys. Wait, all right, yo guys, appreciate you guys. We just finished recording the meaning of the gold mines with Rudy Reyes, with Dime Dropper, Playoff, and me. Dope episode. It's gonna be linked sometime. It's gonna drop today when this episode airs. So tune into that one. It's a dope conversation. It's gonna be on all platforms. Dime Dropper, appreciate you representing the Clipper fan. Locked on Clippers, Dime Dropper Pod. I don't know if you have anything else. What is it with Edwin?
Oh, Basketball and Figueroa. Yeah, the only podcast talking Lakers, Clippers, and Sparks. All LA basketball professional teams.
You're just missing hockeys. Like the hockey. The Kings. You're just missing the Kings.
Yeah, I love the Kings.
Yeah. Nah, I appreciate you, man, for tuning in. Playoff, always appreciate you, PGM bro. All right. Yo, almost trade deadline, and I'm sick and tired of talking trades. Let's talk some basketball.
Bro.
Yeah, it's always D'Lo's. Actually, I'll be the first one to say if we have any shot of winning this game, it rests on D'Lo.
100%.
So you tell me, playoff, if I'm tripping or not. Like,
oh no, I mean, we need him to play at the same level and with the same confidence he's been playing with recently. And it's so funny, man, because and Dime Dropper on the other pod, said the Laker fan base is toxic. and that is 100% accurate. So we've seen time and time again where Laker players come up short in playoff situations, or even in regular season moments, and you have Laker fans that are tagging their family members, just saying really heinous and insane stuff. And it's one of the downsides of having a presence on social media. But D'Lo has been through a lot in this last calendar year. From obviously played really well, or played well in moments at least within the first two rounds of the playoffs. We know how the Western Conference Finals went for him, not very good. And he's been inconsistent this season as well. Started off the season really well. He was out playing Austin to begin the year. December was terrible for him. I would say even these last couple of games, he's been outplaying Austin. I think he's the best guard on the team, for sure. And if we're gonna have any type of chance in this game, we're gonna need him to play well and to play confidently. And LeBron being out, I mean, D'Lo, he knows he's gonna be able to get up as many shots as he wants to. So it's a recipe for success potentially, depending upon how well he plays. Now, the Clippers obviously they have really good perimeter defenders. Kawhi, PG, Terrence Mann. Some I hear people sing his praises as well. So uh, D'Lo, the one thing about D'Lo, he has issues dealing with athletic, defenders, and defenders that are capable of bodying him out. And the Clippers have several of those. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But it starts out with D'Lo having a good game, because AD has been playing pretty well, especially when LeBron's out. So I have confidence that he'll continue that if he plays. I'm assuming he will, but yeah.
Yeah. Dime, what's your take? What's the recipe to beat the Lakers? Again, we're 2-0. We're 2-0, bitch. But we're 2-0. So just hey, look, there's few wins between this season,
Exactly.
man.
We got to
Like
see what we
like
can get.
like I only have an IST on my shelf for this season. I'm looking at it. It's the only bright spot of the season. And D'Lo as well, or an AD master. Like the fact that we've seen AD this good has been amazing. But just hey, time, just tell us what's the recipe for success for the Clippers.
I think it starts defensively. The fact that you don't have LeBron, you got to try to keep D'Lo and Reeves in check. I think Anthony Davis is going to have a 28 to 30 point game, probably, maybe more. Hopefully less, though. We don't have Zubats, so the recipe to go for the Clippers is to make who can guard Anthony Davis on our team. I would think maybe they go smaller and put Kawhi on him and see how he deals with that. But AD's been very relentless this year, so that could be something to watch. I think if Terrence Mann can really make life difficult for D'Angelo Russell, because when D'Lo has bad games, they're really bad. So we can really take him out of the game. I think that's, you guys said it best. D'Lo is the key. He's a flamethrower when he gets going. If we can just keep him at bay, I think Reeves and AD will have your points, but I don't think you're going to be creating a lot of great shots if we're locked in defensively. And I think that, despite the amount of Laker fans that are going to be there, it's going to be at least 45% Clipper fans, at least. So it's still going to be a lot of Clipper fans there. And they're going to be very loud because they take that matchup very seriously. So the Clippers are also 0-2 against you guys, and we have a better record. We are a better team. So we should win. And there's no LeBron. So why not try to run up the score? Go nuts. I think Kawhi needs to have a great game. LeBron did an excellent job on him. I think you guys should not be able to stop our team when we're hitting most of our games. I think we're the second best 3-point shooting team in the league by percentage, or the first. We need to if we start draining. Oh man, Westbrook's gonna be acting crazy against you guys.
Yeah, that's a recipe for a long night. And one thing I will say, Ty Lue, as far as y'all defensive scheme, he doesn't really allow, and AD has really improved this season. I think a lot of fans are starting to take notice his ability to pass out of double teams. But in the past, especially when we played the Clippers, Ty Lue really did a good job of making sure AD couldn't get comfortable. Didn't really get a lot of one-on-one looks. And I mean, y'all were even comfortable, putting like you said, Kawhi or maybe even PG on AD, and then having Zubac come over, especially when AD tried to get into his bag of moves. So it'll be interesting to see how that fleshes out, whether he decides to go that same route or not, especially with LeBron not being there, not being available. I would imagine that the doubles will continue and be consistent on AD, just not wanting him to get into a good rhythm. Um, but yeah, it could get dark really fast, especially if y'all are knocking down shots like y'all are capable of.
That's actually a really good point. I forgot about that. Ty Lue is big on making other guys beat you when it comes to a star like that. And the fact that you don't have LeBron,
Yeah.
we're probably going to do that tomorrow. We're probably
Mhm.
going to double him like almost every time he catches the ball, like foul line or below, and try to make the ball swing to anyone other than D'Angelo Russell for three. Like I think they'll close out super hard on him and just make him pass and live with Torian or Cam. If Torian plays, Rui, Reeves, these guys shoot. So because LeBron's been one of the best
Yeah.
3-point shooters on the team
Catch
this
and
season.
shoot three
So
point. Yeah, he's killing it from a catch and shoot perspective. I think he's shooting over 40% on the year so far.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we'll do the same.
It's interesting though because like, look, I like data. I like numbers. You know, you guys know me, and if you watch on playback, I always do the same thing. It's always numbers, shit like that. And people always say like, "Oh, the eye test, and you got to do this and that." I get it. Fine. Everybody has a different view of how they kind of watch the game. But I'm looking at the Clippers, and my God, are they cooking? Like they're number one in the last 10 games. They're number one offensive rating at 126. They are top. Like the next team would be the Pelicans, but like you guys are 8-2 in the last 10. You're cooking. We are 5-5. We are 500 team. Hey, it's not below. So I'll take that to the bank. But here's the thing that I don't understand: the defensive rating though, because the defensive rating you guys are below us, and I don't get that. Is it because of Zubac's injury, or is it something more to it, or
Last
or,
10
or my
games?
last 10 games, you guys right now? So
Oh,
you're
okay. I'm
yeah.
asking, is that for the whole season or just the last 10 games, the defensive rating?
The defensive rating right now is last 10 games at 116. You guys are 19th.
Yeah, I can give you an explanation.
Sure.
I'm not sure if those games count the two that Kawhi missed, or he missed 4 games. If one of those two is the ones that Kawhi missed,
I
we will
mean, we
look like
can
a
expand
joke.
it to 15 games here. So the
It'll
last
be
15 games, you're still number one
that,
offensive rating. So that doesn't mean shit. But the defense dips down even further to 23rd.
makes sense.
S- Yeah.
So when Kawhi was out, we couldn't guard anything. It was so weird. And then Zubats being out, yeah, that's very massive. Those two
Yeah.
things are major. I think the Clippers without Zoo, they can be a good defensive team, but they can't be a great one without Zoo. No way.
And
What?
and
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead, playoff. Go ahead.
Without Kawhi, we look bad though defensively, like straight up. Those 4 games, we just look bad defensively. That was so
That
wild.
that's what I find interesting. And Paul George at one point in time, before he became the PG that we know him to be now, from an offensive perspective, he was a lockdown defender. That's
Yeah.
what he was really
Same with
known for.
Kawhi.
Yeah, same with Kawhi. So, what do you feel? Do you feel like clearly y'all have aspirations of winning a championship? So your focus is, I mean, the regular season is a marathon. So PG and Kawhi both being veteran players, they're gonna take it easy. They're gonna be load management, although there hasn't been as much as I thought there would
There's been
be.
zero this year.
Yeah,
Zero, which is
yeah,
wild. I'm shocked. Like I'm the first to critique them about load management, which LeBron is doing tomorrow, by the way. Um,
exactly. Yeah,
but I'm the first to call him out. Like that's part of why I'm not as high on this era of Clipper basketball so far. But the fact that they got humbled so bad last season, because let's be honest, they got hurt in the playoffs, but that was a train wreck of a regular season. Like there was nothing good was happening. So yeah, the fact that they've been like Kawhi's only missed 4 games and Paul George has only missed 2, and Harden and Westbrook haven't missed any that they've been available for. Like it's a
it's
blessing. I've been knocking on wood
so
every
good.
single game and
Mhm.
everything. So like, and it's amazing. I can't lie. I just hope it lasts. That's why I'm not allowing myself to get too excited and be like, this is it. This is the year, because this is the best the Clippers have ever looked, like in terms of potential. Like we have 3-star players, and then Westbrook, like who can be a star some nights. Like like the last game against Brooklyn, like he was
Oh
arguably the
my
best player.
god.
Yeah,
Oh
y'all didn't
my.
win that game without him.
What
Not
was
at all.
it? 105, 114 or something like that. The Nets were at a certain point in the fourth, and then you guys like went on a 25 like run, or like
22-0 run.
22
But yeah,
like Jesus Christ, bro. Like that was led by Harden and led by the Rockets 2.0, like because
yeah.
that was low key the Rockets 2.0. Like that was
But
a
then he had
flashback.
Kawhi to bring it home. That's the thing.
Jesus.
He's the one that got it going in the last 2 minutes. So you need, without Kawhi, that's what's funny. With or without James Harden, if we don't have Kawhi, there's no championship team.
Yeah, he's the key.
He's everything.
Yeah. So, do you think
Yeah.
the defense is something that y'all just tap into when you need to, versus like really going all out and focusing on, being a great defensive team night after night?
I think when we're fully healthy with Kawhi and Zoo, we're a good defensive team. Great. We have the potential to be great because James Harden has actually been much better than I thought he would be defensively. Not because I don't know that he has good hands, but he's
Oh yeah.
actually been
Mhm.
trying to, he's taken more pride than I thought one-on-one when he's had to guard, and they targeted him at times. And he's done it consistently. Like he's had more games where he's engaged defensively than he's not, which is great. You know what I mean? If you told me that, I'd be very excited. I just want to do it in the playoffs because your flaws really stick out in the playoffs. But Westbrook, he's having a great defensive season. We don't really have that many negative defenders, you know what I mean, in the rotation. Like the only ones are Norm and Harden, really. Zubats is excellent. Kawhi's really good. Paul George is really good. He has some stinkers, though, defensively. Some games where he's just like totally not engaged and he gets no smoke for it by national media. But for the most part, he's still a good defender. Terrence Mann is really good, too. And then Amir Coffey is very solid. And Tice is no slouch. He gets dunked on a lot, and he's not a rim protector like that, but he's always going to get at least like a block a game because he has good timing. He's smart and he goes up for everything. So the one flaw is we could maybe use another big forward because we lost Batum and Robert Covington. So that's why I think we struggled against the Lakers more this season because LeBron, we had Batum and Rocco and Morris, these bigger bodies to throw at him.
Yeah.
And now we really have just Kawhi. Everyone else is a little too skinny. Like Paul George is a little skinny. He's always been to guard LeBron. So I think that's hurt us. The Lakers' size has legit hurt us. Whereas before we had all the wings and you guys had small guards guarding them.
Yep.
Yep. How the tables have turned. No, and to a certain point, like we have more similarities because last season, I mean, even the beginning of the season, like you had like a roster crunch. Like you had more wings than like it looked not balanced. Like to a certain point, because it's like, okay, do I put more minutes on Morris? Do I play him less? Do I put more minutes on Batum? What happens to Rocco? Like to a certain point, you kind of open the floodgates and kind of, even if you ran a 8-man rotation or 9, like it's set. Like they're getting the same repetitions. Everybody knows their role. As to the Lakers, it's kind of like a revolving door. It's kind of like, okay, what do we do with the Cam Reddish? What do we do with Vandal? What do we do with Rui? What do we do with Because for the life of me, Torian Prince, in my opinion, he gets flack, but he gets flack because he's a starter. He gets flack because he's just not, for me. He's not supposed to be a starter. For me, he's supposed to be like a good bench player, trying to just like use him in spot minutes, 15, movement shooter, have him defend here a bit, have that punch. But if you're using 30 minutes a night plus, and you're relying on him to guard the other team's best player, you're cooked. And that seems to be the case for the Lakers this season. It's just, and for the Clippers, if Torian's playing, because he didn't play last game, but if he's playing this game, that's Kawhi's gonna torch him, barbecue chicken, Oof. But other than that,
I did have one question.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So every fan base hates their coach to a certain degree.
Oh yeah.
I've hopped into some of these Clipper spaces, especially after y'all have had a tough loss. normally to provide myself some entertainment. But I hear a lot of complaints about Ty Lue, and it's funny because that is obviously the option that LeBron wanted. LeBron wanted Ty Lue. The Lakers chose not to go in that direction, and now you have Laker fans who absolutely hate our current coach, Coach Darvin Ham. So, in your opinion, are you frustrated at all? Is there anything about Ty Lue's coaching tendencies that frustrate you, and do you think he's the coach that can take this organization to a championship?
First, I want to say I love some of the people in those spaces, some of the accounts, but it's literally just Stan wars. There's not actually
Mhm.
many genuine Clipper fans in there, and one reason I'm a noted Stan hater is that all they do is deflect. Like they just find other scapegoats to take away from the fact that maybe their favorite player is not doing enough. And it's a team, just the way they view the game is just flawed to me. Like it's a team thing. You can't just blame it all on the coach. You can't just blame it all on one person. Let me tell you this about Ty Lue. He's had, let's not count this season. He's had two amazing seasons as coach. He had one season where he was really weird with his decisions, his ridiculous loyalty to Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris last year was crazy. Like, I don't know what was going on behind the scenes there, why he was so afraid to bench him. I think it's because they were going to pout and make a fuss, which they did, both of them. But I have a lot of love for Reggie Jackson, senior as well. But Reggie Jackson was just like a top class human being when he was here with us. He was so good to all the fans. But Ty Lue, now you go to this season, doing a great job. 3 out of 4 seasons. Last season was just the outlier. And I want people to understand coaches can have bad seasons too. Ty Lue is only shown that he's a good coach in the NBA. Is he maybe a little overrated? Sure. But I think he's a great coach. I also think that I made this video showing this guy that critiques every coach in the league, thinks nobody in the league is a good coach. You seen that video I'm talking about, Tony?
Yeah, Tony shared another one of his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, I forgot. Film the something. Yeah.
Film sessions.
Film sessions. Yeah.
But I mean, so like, in my opinion, I don't like talking about people without them knowing. So, but I would just say this: I respect the work he does, and I think he definitely knows basketball, but he's kind of just assuming what scheme he wants for everything. Whereas the coaches they have certain schemes. You can disagree with them, but there's a reason for some of them, and I think he's a little harsh on some. But every fan base does seem to hate their coach. I do agree with you on that. Clippers, you can kind of include them because if you're on Twitter, on social media, then yeah, you'll think that. But no, Clipper fans like Ty Lue a lot. We're very happy with him, especially the ones that go to games. I think he gets overly criticized, if anything, because as you said, everybody just wants to blame the coach now. I can't stand that, by the way. I think the NBA is the most player-friendly league, like in all of sports and in all levels of basketball. They literally can do some of these point guards in the league can do whatever they want. Rick Carlisle just lets Tyrese Halliburton call out whoever he wants in the pick and roll every time down the court. Like, it's just like, yeah, he'll run some sets on the timeouts and dead balls, but these guys give them a lot of power. And now they have so much power, like guys like Kawhi and LeBron, they have huge say in personnel decisions. Like, so this stuff about the coach, this and that, like, yeah, coaches can make mistakes and coaches are not exempt from blame, but people are so quick to blame the coach in a players league. And you know what, how I know it's BS? Because every single fan base uses the same buzzwords. I don't like his rotations. He doesn't call any plays. Like, it's like, look, the rotation stuff is absolutely like, there's some validity to the fact that some coaches just are a little bit naive with some of their players. But at the same time, and this is what I've learned from coaching, even though it's only at like a recreational, now middle school level, what we don't understand is like, we aren't there every day. We don't see what's happening in practice. Like, we don't know what's going on. Like, you don't know the personal, there's a backstory to everything that goes on behind the scenes, and we're not seeing that. So like, that's clearly what happened with Marcus and Reggie. But at the end of the day, the goal should always be at the professional level, what's best for the team winning. And there are some coaches that are extremely ignorant of the facts, you know what I mean, of what's working because of their own philosophy. A lot of coaches are stubborn themselves and don't want to deviate from certain things that they're adamant about. Like Glenn Rivers, I mean, I despise him as a basketball coach. Like, I don't like he and Mike D'Antoni. Like, I can't stand them, either of them. And Glenn, he just takes no accountability. Like, there was they were saying in the bubble that like the numbers department, analytics department was giving him numbers about, oh look, this lineup with Montrezl Harrell against Jokic doesn't work. And he's like, I don't need that. I don't need the data. And look, I'm not a big data guy, like Tony was talking about. I'm not a big data guy. I am big in the eye test. But if your eye test can't tell that that's not working, then we have a real problem. Like, and
Yeah.
Glenn Rivers, like time and time again, like I'll give you an example. He's supposed to be a defensive coach, and he's running with lineups in the playoffs with Chris Paul, Jamal Crawford, and JJ Redick. All three of them in. Three guys 6'4", 6'5", and under. Two of them are non-defenders, and we had one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, Luke Baamute, on our team, just sitting there rotting on the bench. So like there was just I can go on and on about Glenn Rivers. So I think some coaches it's deserved, but like I don't think a new coach is saving this Laker team. Like I think that Darvin Ham has been bad this season, but I think he was okay last season. And I think he's also just a young coach. I always said that when the Lakers hired him, I'm like, you really want a rookie head coach with LeBron? And like the expectations are just too much. It's too big of a job for him, but he killed it with the first year performance in the postseason. So I really think that even if the Lakers change the coach, it might help them a bit, but it's not moving the needle, man. It's not.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I feel like firing Darvin is really throwing the towel in on the season because there's really not a replacement on the staff currently that's going to be able to come in and do a much better job than what he's doing right now. And like you said, he outperformed the expectations last year by taking the team to the Western Conference Finals. And you're not going to fire a coach after he takes the team to the Western Conference Finals. The issue was that they decided to hire him in the first place. You don't hire a rookie coach to coach Bron and AD, one of the best duos in the NBA. So, I mean, we could go into a long conversation about Darvin Ham and all that stuff, but
Well, I
um,
mean, it's more, yeah, and we're not gonna dive into that. I feel like that's another video, another
yeah,
conversation. But I will say this, that Ty Lue has shown that, and I remember this. I don't have the tweet. I forget. It was sometime, I think November, or I don't know when the trade happened with Harden, and you guys were like in a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and you were, and I remember it was kind of like you were very down on this team. Like it's like, and it's not like you were calling it out in terms of you were like, this is what I feared. Like this is the situation. The starting lineup doesn't work. You kind of have to make a change. Um, but I told you, like, hey, like you have enough talent to kind of pull through. And here on behold, Ty Lue figured it out. He made the adjustments, and you're here. I kind of feel like the Lakers have that opportunity. If and I'm not trying to put this on Darvin Ham. I'm just trying to put this like, maybe the changes that they need to do is not that much of a thing. Sometimes there is a positive when you take out a negative, in terms of like if you take out some players, reduce kind of like the cluster, balance out the bit the roster. It may help him trying to just designate certain roles and kind of like figure shit out. Because honestly, health has been a biggest issue for the Lakers. But and I'm pro coach to a certain point, because at the end of the day, the coach is not gonna catch the ball. The coach is not gonna make a shot. The coach is not gonna like. There's a limit to what a coach can do. It's what the players as a team can do on the court. And sometimes that's the Lakers. That's the thing about the Lakers, is like, my guy, you're wide open. You gotta make that shot. You clank it. Like, if we're gonna play that type of defense, then we're kind of cooked. Like there's certain things where it's kind of like, I think there's more onus on the players than Laker fans want to even like. It's just an easy scapegoat. D'Lo's a scapegoat. Freaking Darvin Ham's a scapegoat. And we can go through the lines, and then at some point it's gonna be it's gonna, like, I'm waiting for the AD slander at some point. Like, oh, AD, you scored 10 points, and it's kind of like, okay, well, let's devoid the whole fact that he's been on a tear. Like, it's, it is what it is. But I'm I'm hoping we win, Dime. But let's see, man. Let's see. If anything, I don't want it to be a blowout. Let's have a good game. Let the best team win. And for all those, just understand, if you are looking to have a watch party, hey, on playback we're gonna be live. We're gonna host the game as well. So if you want to tune in, the link is below on playback. It's free of charge. If you have League Pass, if you don't have League Pass and you just want to see us just either crying or celebrating, just join us. So but Dime, it's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you, my friend, and hope we can have more conversations in the end. And we're in the we're in midway through the season, so at some point this should turn into an interesting. Like I really and let me end here. I kind of want either the play-in or the playoffs to host Lakers versus Clippers. I want that series. Like it's been too much time with Kawhi over there. Like we've seen the regular season. I want.
Yeah, we never got a chance to see it in the playoffs.
We never have had a chance to see it in the playoffs. Like I kind of need that. So at the minimum, I hope we get that. And yeah, that's where I'm at. Dime, do you have any last words?
I froze again, but
Oh shit.
but I'll end it with this. That series is only problems for me. It's problems for my heart rate and it's problem for my wallet because I'm trying to go to all these games and it's not real home court advantage of the Clippers. So I'll take a pass on that, and we can wait. We can wait for the Intuit Dome era.
That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. Playoff. Any last words before we close?
No, man. Appreciate you stopping by, Don.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
Always a good conversation with you. So yeah, looking forward to the next time.
All right, guys. See you into the next one. Stay safe out there, and see you on playback again. Cheap plugs.
Oh wow, I'm unfrozen now.
No,
Only
you're still
for
frozen.
only you're still frozen. You're
Oh,
still
but you
frozen.
guys are. I can see you guys now, so that's weird. Anyway, all
Yeah.
right, guys. Peace.
All right.
All right,
Peace.
take it easy.
Soon as we step out the cage, we raising all of the stakes. Make no mistake, either you stay in your place or we putting you on a plate. Look at our face, we put the fear in the dirt.